How's it going, everybody? Josh here with my little beautiful daughter, Selena. She just turned 7 months old, so she freaks out when I set her down. And also, mom's at work, so it's daddy daycare right now. So, and some of these upgrades I'm going to show on this YXZ are taking her into consideration. Some of them are really cheap, some of them are for safety, but also we do use this side by side as almost like a golf cart in our RV park. So we have a couple places that we stay. Yeah. We have a couple places we stay. We don't live anywhere full time, so you'll see us recording in a couple different spots. But speed limit in here is 5 miles an hour on the dirt, 10 miles an hour on the roads. So I'll just putt around with her sometimes because she likes to go for little rides. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Basically, just want to go over some of the things that I bought on this thing, why I bought them instead of other things. But yeah, basically, the first thing. Yeah. First thing, I'm going to start with the cheapest things to the most expensive things. And there's some really cheap things that I would absolutely recommend everybody buy. It's about $300 worth of things. And then there's probably another $500, $600 worth of things that I have bought that you might think I'm crazy for. I might get a little bit roasted for some of these things. And then there's some of the items that are pretty common that people buy that I've sort of avoided and haven't really seen the value in. So I guess let's get started. So the very first thing, the cheapest thing that I've bought that I absolutely love and use all the time is the $25 PA system I bought on Amazon. So this is the intercom right here that I have. It's just attached right above my key. So it's really nice because while I'm driving, I don't really have to look at what I'm doing. I just have my hands free. Obviously my shifter's here, but I can basically just grab this anytime I want, hit the button, talk. It's got a bunch of different siren modes on it. It's got the whole, all that stuff. And then it also has an intercom that you can talk into. So I use that all the time. It's really, really nice when you're at some, like, especially King of the Hammers or some big event and you're trying to get close to, you're trying to get close to some of the vendors. And there's people just walking around and there's so many cars and motors and they don't realize that you're right behind them and they're doing, walking pace for hundreds of yards. You can just kind of chirp them or even be polite. Say, hey guys, excuse me, or yell at them and not be polite, whatever you want to do. But that is awesome. I use that all the time. So the other thing that I've done, and I'm going to make another video about how this works. I did a fan reverse kit for the radiator fans. So these fans are just simple 2-wire each fan. So if you do reverse the polarity on them, they'll blow backwards. So because of the shroud that I have, this is really mainly for a 2020 or a 2019 and newer, but basically these switches here run it. I have a fan override and the reverse polarity switch there. So the way that I did it was more of a test to see how it would work. I absolutely love it. I've used it probably for about 2,000 miles now on this car. I've got just over 3,300 on it now. So I've used that probably in 25, 30 degree weather. I'm able to drive without any gloves. I've driven in sandals and shorts in 25 degree weather, mainly because I have the windshield also. That helps a lot. But that thing's amazing. I got to upgrade it with some better switches and some relays. I bought some relays for that kit so that it's not running all the power through that switch that I have in there. I bought a momentary on-off-on switch that was reverse polarity, and then I bought another on-off switch and basically replaced the guts between the two and made it a permanent on, permanent off, permanent on reverse. So it's kind of a little bit of a Frankenstein thing, but I just wanted to see how it worked. But it does, I've had one switch go out on me, and it's pretty easy to pull the switch out and just reconnect the wires, but I did have to cut into my stock wiring harness, which just the wires going to the radiators. So there are ways to avoid that as well that I'll show. But that right there, probably $40, $45. And then it's nice because it's on a switch. I can just turn that off or reverse it in the summer. It pulls the air out of the cab. I can do the fan override, pull all the air out of the cab, or in the winter, blow really hot air inside the cab. So that's really great. All right, the next thing that I would absolutely do right away, I learned it the hard way, is the Alba manual cam chain tensioner. So basically it installs right down there and it will save you from your motor pretty much trying to destroy itself. I had probably 1,800 miles on this car. This is my second one. My second one I sold to my friend John that we've shown some videos on. he's gone, I think he went probably 5,000 miles almost with just the stock cam chain tensioner. But I knew it was something that was pretty common to go bad. But basically I wasn't even doing anything crazy. I parked it, started it the next day, and when it started, it just, I guess, didn't have enough oil pressure, and it just jumped timing and basically didn't touch my valves. But I reset the timing, knew that was what was wrong with it, thought it was a one-time thing. Probably 2 weeks later, same thing happened, but it was a lot worse on startup. Wasn't driving it hard, wasn't hitting the rev limiter. Don't do any of that really on this car, because it is sort of my little putt around toy. Sometimes we do a lot of like just slow, easy rides. So that was kind of a big bummer. I found a used motor on Facebook Marketplace that kind of had a hurt bottom end. Something wasn't right with it, but the top end was okay. So John and I wound up pulling my bad motor, rebuilt the motor between the two bottom and top ends. And then, so now I have two motors, but one motor needs a little bit of top end work and a little bit of bottom end work. But that, once I do decide to start going into power upgrades, I think I'm going to build that motor and keep this one just as it is. So the next cheap thing that I bought that is absolutely awesome and relieves a lot of stress while driving is probably 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I bought this tire pressure monitoring system that was made for, it's like an aftermarket TPMS for a Nissan. It's called, what was the brand? It's CareUD, something like that. So that's the unit right there. If I turn the key on, you can see it'll show me all 4 tire pressures. So my front right's a little low. But yeah, that basically is such a lifesaver, because especially with these suspension systems and everything, sometimes you're driving along and you hit some sand or something and you think that you have a flat tire or a low tire, and you don't. Or sometimes you might have a low tire and you don't think you do, because you just think it's the suspension, and then you wind up ruining your rims and tires. So there's so many times that I've gotten out and I come and, you come kick your tire and you're fine. And you're like, okay, well, I guess we'll keep going. And sometimes the tire might be a little bit low, you just can't tell. So these are the little valve cover sensors. They have little batteries in them. They just send the signal. They do make ones that go inside the tire also, if you're worried about them scraping or pulling, tugging on your valve stems. But I wanted to go with this system because if I do get a flat, I wanted to be able to just transfer the sensor over to my spare tire. So the spare tire doesn't have one on it, and I have the tools obviously to be able to pull it off. So I can just throw the spare tire. You're getting heavy. I'm out of breath. I got to work out. I guess this is a workout. So I can just transfer. This one's only capable of handling 4 sensors. They do make ones that have more sensors. The one thing I kind of don't like about this one is it will start beeping at me. The lowest I can go is 15 PSI. So I usually run around 18, 20 PSI anyways. And it's not really a crawling machine. So running too low a PSI without bead locks isn't really ideal anyways, but it works. And if it does start beeping at you, there's just a button you press and it just turns it off. So that works really, really nicely. So the last thing that I would absolutely encourage on these stock YXZs is the wheel spacers. So you can also get offset wheels, rather. But basically what these do is just widen it out so that it's not so top heavy. Obviously lowering the center of gravity is a good thing. You kind of see the width. So I'm still running the stock tires and wheels, but that 2 inches makes such a huge difference. You can kind of see from the side here, it's such a huge difference with width. And then what I did, so it's 4 inches wider overall, and then I did raise the suspension. I just compressed the springs more, move the top retainer down on the front and back, and that has basically given me a little bit more ground clearance and just the more stability there. So went up, I think it raised it probably 1 inch or 2. I think it raised it 2 inches and then widened it 4. So, it's not going to bottom out as easily, but I mean, I go over some pretty gnarly whoops in this thing and it really handles it. So right there between those items, that's about $300 that I'll absolutely spend right away. That makes it just such a good experience. All right, so the next thing we're going to get into, the next category, I guess, would be the more expensive things that I bought that are a little bit more unconventional, but that are really, really useful and I think worth all the money. So the next thing, about $200, I bought this basically it's like a dash cam. So when I key on, it comes on, it's overlax, whatever it is. So key on, it gives you the front and the rear camera. Everything records on a loop. So the front camera just sits right here. Kind of see it right there. And then the back camera sits inside of my spare tire. So that gives me a really good wide angle view. It's always recording on a loop. So if anything happens unexpectedly, I always have it's probably an hour either way. And then if anything happens that I want to save, I just click the lock button. It saves that file just like a normal dash cam. So that right there is just nice peace of mind. You just pull the SIM card. It's not like a super fancy one. I just kind of wanted to see how it would work and how I liked it. And I was thinking about buying a more expensive one, but it's just automotive. It's not waterproof or anything, but because it's behind the windshield, it works pretty well. So that right there, I've got a couple shots of a couple different things that it's been, you know, unexpected things that I wanted to have, and luckily I did. So highly recommended for a couple $100. So the next thing that was really expensive is about $950 is the skid plate that I bought. So I bought the 3/8 inch factory UTV skid plate. I did not do the suspension guards, but I did do the main bottom skid plate. And I really wish that I had gotten it sooner, because these cars, for whatever reason, they just have kind of they have like crossbars along the bottom of the frame that can really get hung up on rocks easily. So I've banged on a couple of those. And also at King of the Hammers, we were trying to watch a race and I just backed up and wasn't paying attention. I backed into a rock right here on my frame. So I got that ding. If I had this skid plate, it would have saved me from that. So, and being wider, having the wider stance, it makes hits on rocks when you do hit them so much smoother. You're not feeling like you're destroying your machine from, you know, little rockets. So a lot of money, but you know, I know that it's saved me from even more damage if I hadn't had it. So worth all the money. Next pricey item that people have different opinions on is this EMP windshield. This thing, I paid the extra money. I think it's $490 for just the windshield. I paid the extra money for the electronic controlled wiper. So this thing is just a lifesaver all the time. I mean, I just have been in so many situations where whether we're going through mud or snow or rain, or even just dust following people, it is just so easy. You just hit that button and you're good to go. And the nice thing is the reservoir sits right here. Oh, I forgot to close that. I just put water in it. So if you can see that. The reservoir is right in there. So you can just pop that open and, oh, are you listening to music? And it's really easy to fill. I think it's about a half-gallon reservoir, so it lasts. I mean, there's no way you're going to run through that whole thing in a day. I guess you could if you're going crazy, but this thing's awesome. It is tempered. It is DOT level glass. The number here, it's got the laminate DOT safety number on there. You say hi, Selena. DOT 1129. So it's serious stuff, and it's really held in solid. We have had issues with these like manual locking quick release bolts coming loose. So what we've done is just throw another nut on the back one here, and that solves that problem. So I just have those nuts on the back. So really, really love it. I wasn't going to buy it. I didn't think it was worth it. Jonathan bought one, and as soon as I took a ride in it at night, I had to get it. So the other nice thing is I like to be able to chat with my passengers. I also have a weird addiction to sunflower seeds. I love eating sunflower seeds while I'm driving. So having this windshield allows me to have an open face helmet. You can see I have sort of a 3/4 helmet here, and that just makes it really nice to be able to chat with people. It's not the safest thing in the world, but again, I'm not really going crazy. I'm keeping in mind that I have a stock roll cage. You know, I'm not wearing the nicest helmet. I'm just trying to have a good time and cruise around. So I also come from a dirt biking background. I've been riding dirt bikes since I was 13. I've been riding sport bikes since I was about 20, 21. So this, as far as safety is concerned, I feel like is a massive step up from that. But yeah, overall, just for the riding experience, this thing has made the overall experience for me and my passengers so much better. And it doesn't do the buffeting thing people talk about. They say that you get like a vortex and whatnot. Some other cars, I guess their design it does, but this just kind of pulls the air over. And it doesn't, even though I'm not letting the radiator get as much air, that fan still pulls the air out, and it'll go from 212 when it kicks on down to like 194 in like probably under 10 seconds. So, you know, no cooling issues there for sure. The next thing that's a little bit pricey, but I absolutely love, is my fastlab spare tire carrier. This thing, I haven't actually gotten a flat tire on this car yet, which is kind of wild. I haven't actually needed to use this, but the nice thing is, because these things do tend to buck, you know, we don't have as much suspension travel as some of the other cars. So it does tend to buck when you go over bumps or jumps or whatnot. So this does pull more of the weight towards the back, and it helps the ar stay more flat when you're going over different jumps and things. I have been able to tune the suspension a little bit to get it also to make it, you know, ride better, playing with some of the rebound and all that stuff. But really that fastlab kit is amazing. John rolled over backwards onto his. The whole car bounced off of this, and it didn't bend anything. It's still perfectly straight. We replaced the whole roll cage and everything, but that thing is just insanely strong. So really good guys. They're out of like Long Beach area, Signal Hill. So if you do live in Southern California, you can save a lot of shipping too. So I just drove down there and just picked it up. They also hooked me up with this roof, because this is a 2021 3-pedal stick shift. So it didn't come with a roof. And since they do build cages, and I bought that carrier, I got a couple of my friends to buy those also. They hooked me up with this for pretty cheap. So, you know, factory roof works, and it works well with the windshield as well. The other big expense that I wouldn't say is necessary, but I really, really enjoy it, is the 5150 187 light whips. And I also have the rock lights that I've wired up in here underneath the wells, and kind of goofy, but I also, because I do live in my RV and we have a trailer where we tow it around, I actually wound up using 2 sets of broom holders that you put on the wall. So when these pop off, you can just basically store them sideways. So they just pop in like that, and you can drive them like that. They won't fall off. They're super sturdy on there, and they even kind of become like a chase bar. So that's one reason why I didn't really want to get a chase bar anyways. It is blocked by this, but I can just turn this on red, or even flashing or whatnot. And with both of them on there, it still gives a decent amount of lighting. So kind of a weird thing that I did. That was probably an $8 part that I forgot to mention. So got that. Also, speaking of my trailer, the reason that I did that is I had a cheaper light whip that I drove into my trailer and broke the light whip like right after I installed it, because I forgot I had it. I'm sure a lot of people have done that. I didn't have the spring mount for it. So what I did was I just mounted it up here as my dome light. So, and I have my 5150 switch here. This just to turn them on and off. I don't really mess with the settings here because I have the Bluetooth connections, and then this is just for my dome light. So let's see, key on. That's on green right now, but it works. It works really, really well. Yeah, baby. So another reason why I love, say hi again. Another reason why I love these 5150 whips is because they have a brake light and turn signal receiver right built into them. So all they need is just a 12-volt signal, and it'll turn on the blinkers. So what I did is I didn't want to do the brake lights because I didn't want a bunch of red flashing. I already have a brake light on the back of my car anyways, but I did want to use it as blinkers. So what I did was I have one of the Bluetooth receivers is controlling just the light whips, and the other Bluetooth receiver is controlling the rock lights. But each receiver has a left and a right signal like built into the apps, into the software. So what I was able to do is I basically just bought this $8 switch, and it's just a 3-wire. So it's one 12-volt wire going in. I have that running through one of the relays that I ran, and then 2 12-volt wires running out of that into the center console where my relays are. I'm running one of the wires to the left on both modules. So even though they're separate modules that are controlling it, I get my left whip and both my rock lights that will show my left signal. So I'll show you here. So we got left on there. So you see my left one going there, and they've got it figured out where they're all perfectly in sync. So, and then even from the front, when I'm driving, people can see my blinker. So, you know, they were kind of expensive, 700 something, but it works absolutely wonderfully. So then the right, you know, you can see the right going there. So even if my whips are off and they're not running, that will override the whips being off. But even if they're on, then I guess I can turn them on for you. Even if they're on, when I hit the switch, it still overrides whatever color I got. So just one of those things. I mean, one of those things where it is true that you get what you pay for. So that's definitely one I would recommend. So the next big one that some people might think I'm a little crazy for is the Rockford Fosgate Stage 4. I think John said it was a Stage 5 in the other video. I said it was a Stage 3. It's a Stage 4, so it has the 2 rear speakers, it has 2 in the footwells, and then it has a sub underneath the seat. And then the unit, the head unit, is right here. That is the absolute best. The sound quality, even all the way up to full volume, is just insane. With the 3/4 helmet, I can hear everything clearly. If, you know, I do have just a skull cap that I can wear sometimes also, that, you know, we can run it really quietly and talk to each other. But, you know, sometimes we'll park places and just, this will be our stereo. The other nice thing is, because this is a stick shift, sometimes I'll just park it and I'll just make sure I park it on a hill, whether it be forward or backwards, and I'll just run it. If I run the battery down, oh well. It'll run probably 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how hard I'm pushing it. But I'll just run it until it dies, and then when it dies, I can just bump start this thing. The motor's so small compared to the weight of the vehicle that 2 or 3 miles an hour, the thing will just pop right on, fire right up. So kind of a cool little benefit. Another benefit of having a stick shift versus the sport shift. So those are my expensive things that I bought that I feel like are totally worth it. And that was about over $5,600 that I've spent. So that's turbo money. That's long travel kit money. But I still would rather have all those things than have a turbo kit or a long travel kit without any of those things. So $5,600 for those items, plus the $300 for the other stuff that I talked about in the beginning. So $5,900, over $5,900, almost $6,000 invested already in just things that I can't do without. Okay, so now for a few things that I've bought that I didn't really necessarily need, but they're nice. Not necessarily expensive either, but just random little things. The spare wheels that I bought, spare wheels and tires, I found on Facebook Marketplace a set of stock wheels for $150. So I've never needed them. I've never had a flat, like I said, but they do happen. My first one, we were getting flats all the time, but those were the 27-inch wheels. These are 29-inch wheels. So you have a little more sidewall. And I was running a lot lower tire pressure when I first started driving these things. I thought I needed to be in the low, 10, 12 PSI range. So we were just pinching sidewalls. So $150 for that. I paid $200 for a full set of these stock, what are they, bighorn, longhorn? What are these? Maxxis bighorns. Yeah, so I paid $200 for a used set. The thing is there's so many people that will want to upgrade their wheels and tires right away, so they just get rid of them like they're dirt cheap. So bought those, haven't used them, but I'll probably just stick with those for a while because they last a long time. They're super cheap, they're easy to find, and they work okay. So the next thing would be the SP Connect. So I have this phone mount that is just really simple and easy. It's sort of like a quad lock, but I think it's better. So I have a dedicated phone that I have my maps downloaded on, and I have music downloaded on. And I use an app called Gaia now. It's Gaia. Works really, really well offline. It's free. There are some things you can pay for, obviously. They want your money. But I've been using that. It traces you can record your routes, so you can kind of backtrack really easily. It never, even if you lose reception, it doesn't lose track of where you're at. So I've been using that lately, and it's been amazing. But it's nice just having that there. I mean, I can skip music and everything with my head unit there, but it's nice to just have that as a backup. And I just run a USB cable from the cigarette lighter there. So probably 80 bucks for the case and the mounts. I use that on my boat also. Never had it fall off. I use it on my motorcycles. It just works. So kind of a cool little thing. Another thing I bought, I have this scissor jack. So if I do need to replace a tire, I can easily do it. We've done it plenty of times on other cars, and you know, there's always people that need help that we can help them with on that. I guess that could be a good thing or a bad thing. We also have a tire iron kit that I put underneath the seat. I just keep it under the seat all the time. It kind of fits right in here, and it never falls out because if somebody's sitting there, it just sort of fits perfectly. But we just keep that in there, and that will unscrew that. I think it's a 17 millimeter nut on the top of this. So, you know, I think that was probably 150 bucks total. I have a couple little pieces in the glove box that extend it also so that you can get it up taller. But you know, when you need it, it's really nice to have, and it wasn't too expensive. Instead of doing a rugged radio kit or a big intercom system, those were just kind of crazy expensive. And half the time when you're riding with people, they don't have radios, or they don't have the same frequencies as you, or they don't have helmet kits or whatever. And it's just kind of a pain. So what I did, I have a little, probably a $30, my friend actually gave me this little $30 helmet intercom kit, and I have a Baofeng radio. So yes, I know you're supposed to have a ham license to operate these. Okay. I mean, I've never had an issue as long as you're not using the ham repeaters and using the frequencies you're not supposed to be on. It's really easy to find out, you know, the family frequencies and all the different ones that you know you're allowed to use publicly. So that we've got, I think between all of our friends, we probably all have, there's probably 10 of those radios between us. And it's really easy to program a new frequency. If somebody has some other radio that, you know, none of us have the frequency, we can just change over to that frequency really quick. And I have the helmet kit wired in here, and I just have the button, the push to talk button, put it over my seatbelt light. So when I'm driving along, I can easily just chat on there, you know, and if they don't have a radio, I can use my little intercom. So pretty cool little simple cheap thing. I think that whole kit, the helmet was like 45 bucks. The radio kit was probably 20, 25. And then the radio itself, I think you get two of them for like 50 bucks. So pretty cool. And the nice thing, if you get the extended battery one, you can charge it with a USB. So if the radio does get low or whatnot, you don't have to bring your whole base. Like the stock small battery ones, they only charge off the base with the 110. You can charge it with a USB. So kind of a cool little feature. But those batteries last all day. The last thing that I bought that was probably unnecessary, it looks cool. It cleans up the engine, but the Weller smog block off plates, I think they're called. So it eliminates some hoses and some, I guess it helps keep the engine getting cooler air. So I think it's better for the engine. I didn't notice any power performance upgrades, but maybe it does pop a little bit less on diesel. But you know, it's just sort of a little, for $40, it's sort of a cool factor thing. I don't think it really does anything. But if you are going to add a turbo, or if you're going to get it tuned, or if you're going to add exhaust or anything like that, I think that's one of those things that they sort of want you to do. And I think it's going to mess up your tune if you don't. So I was thinking about doing some power stuff, but I kind of gave up on that because I did all these other things. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about why I didn't go with some of these things that are more conventional. So first things first, the stock roll cage. Everyone says you're going to die if you roll over in it, whatnot. Maybe. John's rolled his a number of times. He's been okay. I'm really driving this thing a lot more cautiously than I would if it was a machine that I was wanting to go thrash and I, you know, was okay with losing all the money I put into it. But I don't really push the limits. And I know the limits. This is my second YXZ. Again, I come from dirt bike riding, motorcycle riding. So I know that if I do roll over, it's going to be good enough. And I always have that in the back of my mind that, you know, this is a stock cage. It's not as good as, you know, a race cage. If I were racing and I was involved in an accident with, say, another truck or a trophy truck or something like that, that's where it gets really dangerous. So I avoid those types of scenarios where I'm even going to interact with any other cars. But as far as this car by itself, the cage will hold the car's weight fine. These cars only weigh 1,500 pounds. So, you know, it'll do a couple rollovers fine. But it definitely, if I were to get ran over by another truck, this cage is going to get smashed. I'm probably going to die. So keep that in mind. But, you know, for me, and these cages are a dime a dozen. When people get rid of them and they upgrade their cages because, you know, probably more likely are going to be in scenarios where they're going to be interacting with other bigger trucks. So it's a good idea to get, but I'm sort of risking it a little bit and saving a lot of money there. So the other thing, a lot of people want to get seats. These are safety issues too. I'm kind of risking things a little bit, but I'm safer in this thing than I would be otherwise. I think if I were to get seats, harnesses, things like that, I might be taking a little bit more risks also. So I am always cognizant of the fact that I don't have the best safety gear. I have so many friends that have the 4.5 point harnesses and the racing seats and all that stuff. Every time we get in the car, they got to harness up and it takes a while. Every time we get out, or if we have an issue, or we got to stop to help somebody, we're always waiting for the guys with the harnesses. Whereas these little, they're junk. They're 3-point stock seat belts, but they do the job. And if I do put a harness on this thing, I really want to figure out a way to put the CanAm harnesses. I've been in a couple CanAms. The X3s had the retractable 4-point harnesses, maybe the 4-point. Those were amazing because you could actually move and you could, reach for your dash on the front. You can, get in and out, and it's quick release and everything. So if I could figure out a way to make those, or if another company makes those for CanAm, I want to try to find a set of those, but they're hard to find, and I don't know how they would mount up in this, but that would be cool. The other thing is the steering wheel. So I have a stock steering wheel. I feel like that's just sort of another just fashion statement. It's like, it looks cool. It looks cool for you to pull your steering wheel off. It looks cool to walk into an event with your steering wheel in your hand. This thing works great. I mean, it turns the wheels and it all works. So it's not the coolest looking thing, but I'm all about function over form. The other thing that I haven't upgraded is my lighting. So the chase bar, I was planning on getting a light bar, some pod lights, things like that. I have pretty good night vision. These light whips, once I put these on, I can actually see at night pretty much all around me really well when they're lit. So, and I think they're bright enough to be seen at night. If people are chasing me, they definitely are. So that's why I haven't spent any more money on those things. So I did buy a dirt launch. So it was a dirt launch alternator kit. The problem with that, it was about $500, somewhere around there. The problem with that is, I don't know if it's an issue with the fact that these cars spin so high, it was overspinning the alternator, or if I just didn't have enough draw because I wasn't running any extra lights like I thought. I was thinking about doing a tune and getting a bigger fuel pump and all that. But basically what happened was I had it installed, I'm driving with it, and it started sending my voltage up above 16 volts. And when that happens, the ECU and all the engine control, all the electronics start to fritz out and it starts trying to protect itself. So I was driving along, it was killing my stereo. My stereo was shutting off, my power steering was shutting off. So I was if I was going quick, and it would happen when you were going quicker. So if I was going quick, I'd lose power steering in a corner and it'd start jerking around and being really unpredictable. My dash would start flashing and doing weird things. So I was on a ride, probably 3 or 4 rides in after I bought this thing. And it's a belt drive system off of the output shaft to the front transfer case, or to the transmission, sorry. And it started, fritzing out. So we had to basically disconnect the belt from the pulley on the alternator. And then the only way to really keep it from being in the way, we had to zip tie it back onto the engine casing so that it wasn't flopping around on the drive shaft. Because otherwise we'd have had to disconnect the whole drive shaft, and that was going to be a total hassle way out there on a trail. So I got to figure that out. I tried to contact them and ask if that was maybe a faulty alternator or what the deal was. They never got back to me. So I don't know if anybody has any connections there, let me know. Long travel kit. That's another thing. I feel like it's, you can spend, I guess there's some for $3 or $4 grand, but really the nice ones that give you any sort of advantage are $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. And I really don't think that these frames can handle that. So, the front clips are known for being a little bit weak. You've seen, there's a number of YouTubers that you've seen, they slide out and hit a little side bank and your rear frame mounts get bent in. I don't think, if you add more travel, you add a longer pendulum on that, it's just going to cause more problems unless you do a full gusset kit. So if I'm going to do a long travel, I'm going to be buying a long travel kit plus a gusset kit. It's a ton of work and it's a ton of money, and I'd rather just drive my car as it is. So you know, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Maybe down the line, if I have a lot more money that I know what to do with, I might do a long travel kit, but I feel like that's more, it's a lot of money just to kind of look cool. And it also will limit you on what trails you can go through. It limits you on your trailers that you can tow it with. It's a lot of hassle that I didn't want to deal with. The other thing is getting it turboed. So I really like a lot of power. I want more power. When I'm not driving the car, I think I need a turbo. And then when I get in the car, I'm almost never full throttle. So mainly I'm doing dirt trails. I'm not really doing much sand dunes. That's the one time, if I were to be doing a lot more sand dune riding, I would say I would definitely need a turbo, because that's where you're just full pinned, almost red line. But I don't know. I might do a turbo down the line. That might be the next thing. But still, I'd rather have all the things that I have than spend, you know, 5, 6, 7 grand on a turbo kit, when most of the trails I'm doing around here, especially around the park, I'm just putting around really slow. You know, sometimes I'll drive it up the street to go to the store or whatnot. But and also it's louder. So since I am around other campers and I'm using this almost on a daily basis, I use it to take trash to the trash. I do it to go do laundry. So, you know, I don't really want to be upsetting all my neighbors and getting complaints against me because this thing's too loud. So I just have the stock exhaust, stock muffler. I kept the spark arrestor on there. So, you know, just to be respectful and be able to use this thing the way I do, I think that's probably the best route for now. All right. So I think I've thoroughly put her to sleep. Hopefully I didn't put you guys to sleep, but yeah, let me know what you think. I mean, there's probably other upgrades that, you know, other people would rather do, but this is my sort of goofy, unconventional build. Realize I spent almost $7,000 with all the parts, with all the extras and things there. Almost 7 grand that I put into this car for a lot of upgrades that people probably wouldn't do. Everyone has their own taste, but you know, this is where I'm at. I'm really happy with it the way it is. I'm probably not going to do anything to it for quite a while. It's pretty much done. So this is my little baby, and this is my new little baby. So appreciate you watching, and we got a few more coming up. They're going to be pretty exciting. I'm going to do a video on how I'm upgrading the van reverse kit with the relay. I already have the parts and everything. I just got to find the time. But that should be coming out in the next week or two. So appreciate it. Have a good one.